Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have an awesome new watch for you from a brand new brand. Some of you might have seen around social media. They are Mint Evolutive, but I'll probably be calling them Mint Evo during this review just because it's a little bit easier to pronounce. So that's that. Now, basically, this brand is, they're a modern micro brand startup, and they really focus on that kind of vintage style plus modern build quality formula, which a lot of companies are building their brands based on right now. You know, those really timeless looks, but with sapphire and solid everything, screw-in everything, really top-notch stuff, and watches that just a couple of years ago would have really made build quality of some, what some would consider luxury timepieces of the time, let's say the 80s and early 90s, would really pale in comparison when it comes to the fit and finish of the bracelets and just the build quality and overall attention to detail. So with that said, the thing that really makes Mint Evo special is that they actually have this new level of customization available. Although there are other brands that are out there where you're kind of able to design your own watch online and then they send it to you fully built. The different thing about Mint Evo is they actually let you do the modding, and they actually set up the watch to be pretty much a Seiko modder's dream. Everything is you can switch out. I mean, for this particular model, it might look like kind of an everyday adventure watch, but that smooth bezel is actually removable, and it's really easy to remove. And as you'll see throughout this video, what's really surprising is, considering that it's meant to have tolerances that a novice can really use and mod and part and kind of pull apart and put back together, you would think that that would kind of imply that this thing was just really loose and had loose tolerances. But the really cool thing is that that's completely the opposite. This thing is actually surprisingly well built. It's pretty nuts. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a closer look. Okay, now as you can see, there's quite a good bit of kit that actually comes with these watches because you have so many different options, and they basically thought of everything for you, which is really, really nice. Now, I mean, this is basically your Seiko modder's dream. So instead of taking, an old SKX and reworking it and with all these other parts and figuring out what works from here, there, and ordering from 10 different places, you can actually just get everything in one spot, including the tools to switch everything up, and everything is actually meant to be switched out and swapped. So they've actually gone ahead and designed the watch in a way that actually makes modding relatively easy. Now, a little bit about this type of watch. It is, of course, a dive watch. This is their Divemaster dial. And some key common characteristics and design language you're going to look for when shopping for a dive watch. Of course, you're going to want something that's water resistant, normally through some type of screw down crown, something that's tough, legible, something with a dive time bezel and a diver's extension if on bracelet. And then at the same time, this watch, as you can see there with the smooth bezel, is actually more of an everyday watch, which all it needs to be really is a versatile blend of sporty and dressy attributes. But then this actually adds the capability of being 200 meters water resistant as well. So I think that's pretty cool. And this just has a lot to offer, and I'm going to try to show you guys some different combinations and kind of how easy everything is without getting too much into the weeds as far as the modding goes, because I don't think you guys need a tutorial on how to switch out a strap or anything like that, but I think popping off the bezel is actually fairly easy and really cool, the tools that they gave. So I'll definitely try to cover that, but let's go ahead and get this piece in hand. Now, as you can see, one of the things I really was impressed by this watch is the finishing. I mean, look at that. I mean, this watch is under 400 bucks. It's, I believe, 379. And honestly, this bracelet is closer to Christopher Ward quality than I would say from any other you know, Asian micro brands that I've seen out there. So it's pretty insane, the build quality on this bracelet. And then of course everything is actually screw in, taper super nice. The brushing is very uniform, polishing nice and clear. So really, really impressive from that standpoint. And then of course from a design standpoint, I think it is very legible, which is really nice. The case size is 40 millimeters with a 13 millimeter height. Not too shabby at all. As you can see, it does have drilled lugs, which is a very nice touch. The lug to lug is 49 millimeters, and then it is of course completely constructed out of 316L stainless steel. And you know, these finely polished bevels, the transition between the brush and the polish on the top of these lugs is excellently done. I mean, that is very luxurious and definitely not something you would really expect from a watch in this, at this price point, at, you know, under 400 bucks. I mean, obviously the micro brand game has definitely been stepped up, and have seen watches like that. But you know, I honestly wasn't really expecting that from this piece, to have this level of fit and finish, just because the nature of the watch is that it's going to be switched down. I mean, I think kind of their concept for this watch, it could have definitely not been this nice and still been able to sell, especially at this price point, just because of what it offers. So I think that extra fine finishing really is a bonus on this. So as you can see, it does have a flat sapphire crystal with inner AR coating, which does a good job of you know, getting some nice legibility out of that nice matte dial. Everything printed there, nice sword hands. The bezel is actually 120 click when you pop off the bezel. So let's see if I can get this done without too much fanfare, even with the gloves on here. Popping off the bezel, which is, right, that was insanely easy. Pop that off, and then let's put on this blue sapphire bezel, which went on also very easily. Let's do some clicking. Okay, so I mean, that's pretty outstanding. And again, this is a pre-production model, so there, you know, it's not going to be quite as finely finished. And so you can see there on that bezel insert, it's not completely loomed there. This is actually a fully loomed insert, but it's actually missing that part. So I mean, that's really, really cool. And then of course you have all these like crazy options that come in here, purlons, as well as, you know, all these really nicely done and signed at that tropic straps, which is really cool. There's actually even an end link that screws in to give you that full look. So it's not going to be just like a regular strap there. There's actually a metal end link portion that slips over that actually slides into the case as well. So that's really cool. And it's screw-in. It's not something that, you know, just kind of is held in by gravity or anything like that. So that was just really impressive. As you saw, like, that was just so easy to pop that off, but it's not something that I couldn't just pop it off without the tool. So that's definitely very impressive. And what's even more impressive is how good this bezel action is. I mean, you would think for something that's meant to be swapped in and out, they would have to have the tolerances a bit looser, and you would kind of expect there to be more play in there, but there's actually not, which is pretty awesome and extremely impressive. Now, the movement inside, of course, is the Seiko Instruments NH35, I believe. Let me take a quick look at my little cheat sheet of the specs here, but essentially it's Seiko's version of their 4R35 or 36, depending on if you're going to have a day date or just a date complication. This is actually the NH35, so it is hacking and hand windable, which is really great. And it, you know, you can see the nice display case back. But everything is just really nicely finished. I think you get a pretty good look. Get the solid clasp and everything here. You get a nice bevel on the clasp. Of course, this portion is just stamped, but I mean, even on the Christopher Ward, this is a stamped portion, and then this is all milled out and everything. So again, that's pretty impressive that you know, a watch well under 400 bucks. It's not really meant to be this, you know, near luxury piece like Christopher Ward. I mean, that's kind of their whole selling point, is that, you know, for under $1,000 and on often under $800, you can have something that just specs wise and fit and finish wise is going to be able to be something that's comparable to plenty of watches that are in the 15 to 2000 and up range. So that's pretty impressive that we have something now at an even lower price point that is just nipping at the heels of that. I mean, again, I'm not saying that this is, you know, a Christopher Ward level in every way, but I mean, in as many ways that it can be. I mean, look at that bracelet. I'm just extremely surprised and impressed that it still is. So really nice. And there's obviously all these other options here. You can do the 12-hour bezel insert. They also have, you know, these really nice metal inserts there for kind of a flatter look. And they even have a black coated one, a little stealthier. You know, so there's, you know, more kind of a yacht master look. But I really do like the idea of the 12-hour. So let's go ahead and swap that out. So you don't really need a GMT hand, which is nice when you're using a 12-hour bezel, because you can actually just change the time zone with your rotating bezel, which is nice. So there's actually another insert that goes underneath, so I wouldn't be surprised if there was another insert for the underneath ring that actually would make this able to be bi-directional. I would have to double check, but as you can see, really cool. I mean, obviously probably not the supreme color choice for me, but I think it's actually nice to kind of mix and match. I think with that blue it actually goes pretty well. But the nice thing is you can actually change the time zone. You know, I can say, hey, time is it in New York right now, and there you go. It's just as simple as setting it back 3 hours, which is really nice. So really cool. I mean, this concept is insane. I just feel like we spend so much money on modding, you know, like let's say an Invicta Pro Diver or something like that, or an SKX, and this kind of just gives you everything you need to mod something on your own, which I think is really, really awesome. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this on the wrist. All right, as you can see on my 7 1/4 inch wrist, this is wearing just beautifully. You know, I've actually put it back on this ceramic loomed blue bezel because when we do the loom shots, I figured it'd probably be best to actually see the loomed bezel insert, although again, this is pre-production, so it does have that slight imperfection here, as you can see. But otherwise, I mean, you see the way that it rides on the wrist, very similar and reminiscent to the Black Bay in those respects, as far as the wearability and kind of that more side slab style case. But I think it just wears really nicely. Sorry, a little warm in here, so there's a little bit of sweat there on the sides of the case. But you know, I think it gives you a good idea of how this is going to look on person, on wrist. Really quite impressive. So let's go ahead and move into the loom shots. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit the lights. So as you can see, this being a pre-production model, the loom is not super strongly applied, but let's go ahead and hit it with the black light just to give you an idea of where the loom is actually applied all throughout that ceramic insert, and then of course on the dial at the hour markers, and then on the hands there. This is going to fade pretty fast. As far as I know, they did work on improving that for the actual production model, so looking forward to seeing the performance increase there. So it's nice that they did kind of identify stuff beforehand for improvement. Now as far as low light transition goes, so you can get a nice idea of the finishing. Really quite beautiful. Super impressive there. As you can see, really just nicely done. The brushing nice and uniform. The polishing, you know, apart from some sweat from me and some oils, it's very much a nice polish, not cloudy or anything like that. You can see the way the light plays with the colors, plays with that finish. Very nice. So let's go ahead, hit the lights, and here we are again. So to close this off, I mean, just before we totally move into my closing thoughts, just some more facts. Of course, it does have the 20mm lug width, and then the solid end links on the oyster bracelet. It does actually have a really nice taper from 20mm down to 16, which is really great. You have the screw pin connectors, flip lock, also very impressive. On the wrist, you know, to summarize, it has a nice substantial feel. And then of course there's that really surprisingly impressive finishing, which really was a super nice, I guess, bonus for this piece, because I think the selling point is the customizing side of it, but then the bonus is that you're getting actually a really high quality base. You know, the canvas that you kind of have to make this watch your own is really impressive. Now there are quite a few model variants, and basically they're just different kind of dial options and bezel options. But there's the Defender, which is kind of a California dial with a waffle pattern on it. You have the Divemaster, of course, with the 3, 6, 9, and 12, and that matte black. And then you have the Intelligencer, which is basically a more dressy kind of Roman numeral watch with a nice train track around the outside with a sunburst style dial. Comparable models, like I mentioned before, this is pretty much a Seiko modder's dream, but also another kind of popular watch mod is the Invicta Pro Diver, because it does have an updated NH movement and tons of support, considering that a lot of aftermarket Rolex inserts and whatnot will actually fit on that watch. So kind of instead of spending your money on that and trying to grind things down to work and kind of play a guessing game, the nice thing is you can actually get you know, just a grab and go set from Mint Evo, then have something really special and kind of be able to customize it into any way that you want, into something that you can really enjoy long term. And you know, maybe you don't have enough funds to have both an everyday watch and a diver, dedicated sports watch, and maybe you do want to have both. And I think this, you know, this formula really can offer you that, which is really cool. So I mean, it's kind of getting more than one watch for the price. You can get a traveler's watch using that 12-hour GMT style. You can do a dive bezel, you can do smooth bezel, and then there's of course all these crazy bracelet, strap, and whatnot options, which is great. And then it is 20mm lug, so it will fit all of your other straps, not to mention just the straps that they send along with it. I mean, to me, the real bottom line is it's already had a very excellent concept, and the best part is that it plays out to be just as excellent in concept as it is in execution. So really high marks from me. I'm very impressed, and I'm, you know, hopefully I'll be able to review a actual finished model here, and then let me know if you guys are interested. I can shoot a couple more videos, maybe some other combinations, getting into more details. I just don't want this thing to be like a 40-minute long video, but if you guys are interested in that, I'm definitely open to shooting it and just kind of get into a bit more of the weeds of swapping things out and trying some different combinations. The nice thing about Mint Evo is the way their site is set up, you can actually get a preview of all the different combinations on their site. So you can actually configure everything and kind of build the watch exactly like you're looking for. But as far as in the flesh, non-rendering, I mean, this thing is very impressive. And I have to say, every single prototype I've ever seen and handled has always paled in comparison to the production models. The production models are just so much nicer, so much more, you know, as everything's done to a finer detail because they know that they're retail models that they're going to sell these. Normally for pre-production, it's really just kind of proof of concept, testing how things fit, how certain things feel, you know, testing the aesthetic in person and whatnot. And I think, you know, if they even just match the finishing and the fitment for this particular piece, then they're already in really refined air as far as their fit and finish and build quality goes. So they did let me know, the team at Mint Evo did let me know that there are a couple other changes. None of them are going to be anything that's going to be like, you know, what you see is not what you're going to be buying, but they did do things to improve over basically what I have here on display for you guys. You know, for everything from improving the movement holder, which I didn't have any issues with, but so they didn't really have to tell me they were going to improve that. But that's something that they did improve and let me know about. And then, of course, the application of the loom and the loom itself, those loom choices were actually going to be changed for the final model. And, you know, it's just really nice. I'm just very impressed. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked the video, please do it like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.